everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Jen. I'm a homeschool mom of 6, and I am back today for another video recapping, reviewing all of our curriculum that we did this past year. So if you haven't watched my past videos, they will be linked, and you can head over to my channel and they'll all be there as well. So today I am going to be talking about my 7th grader, everything that he did for his year. Yeah, we're like on the cusp of high school. So, I mean, I already have currently 2 kids in high school and 1 that's already graduated. So you'd think I'd be used to it. I don't know. That grade 8 year hits and it just is like, how did we get here? But anyway, we're gonna go through all of the curriculum. Again, this is not including things that we did for like morning time or any of his readers. He does his own devotional. It doesn't include any of the things we did as a group. I'm actually gonna start with math because I don't have it here. I don't have anything physical to show you. He does it on his tablet, and that is teaching textbooks. My kids have kind of done an array. We've used quite a few different math programs. Some of them we repeat, other ones I specifically choose kind of for the first few years of school, and then we switch over to something else. I know that there are varying opinions on whether, you know, teaching textbooks is good enough, I guess, or teaches enough, or even the way that it's taught. I guess you could say that for any program, honestly. Everyone's going to have an opinion on certain curriculums, which I understand, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I think with that being said, it also depends on your child, right? It depends on their level, it depends on their learning style. Like, there's a lot, I think. So whenever I am talking about any curriculum, honestly, I want you to also understand that it's partly my personal opinion, and it's also about how it worked for my specific child. And so take that with a grain of salt. I'm here to sort of, you know, give you as much information as I can, but at the same time, I think you sometimes just have to try it for yourself to see what you think. And we have always had success with teaching textbooks, so it's like I haven't really deviated from it much. And I think I've mentioned this before, but when my kids get to high school, we live in Canada, and so when high school hits, we do things maybe, I don't know, a little differently. I mean, everybody does something different, I guess, but when we hit high school, we also do utilize an online site available to us here where my kids can actually earn credits towards a diploma. They don't need to do that. I could put together a transcript and they would still be fine to go to college or university. This is just the route that we've chosen. It's kind of the best of both worlds. The reason I mention that is because they usually switch over, if you want to say, to doing this online math program that is accredited in that way by the province, but they actually end up also doing that alongside teaching textbooks all through high school. And the reason for that is all of my kids, so I have 1 that's graduated, and then as of now I have 2 currently in high school, have told me that their experience with teaching textbooks has made it better for them to understand. It is a clearer explanation of whatever concept is being taught than whatever they're doing online. So they actually still continue to use teaching textbooks alongside the accredited program that they're doing. And that's just to say that, you know, they themselves see the value in continuing to do teaching textbooks. A lot of times they will be doing something, maybe be a little confused and not understand, but once they've done the teaching textbooks equivalent like lesson of it, it clicks. So I don't know. Again, it's different for every kid, and yet I have 4 kids that have done or are currently doing teaching textbooks. So sometimes there's times when things come easy, and other times where it could be a little, you know, difficult for the child, especially if you're learning new things or you're starting a new grade, or also just depending on whether that's like a strong subject overall for that child or not. So he completed his grade 7 course for this year, and he did great. The way that we do math in my home is I have the kids need to get an 85 or higher in order to technically pass So when they're working on a lesson, if they get less than an 85, I make them redo whatever questions they got wrong. We usually talk about what the, if there was a problem or if they were having trouble understanding any of it. And it's less about the number, because I know it's like, well, 85, that's obviously passing. It's less about the number. I actually don't, it's not about focusing on the number. It's more, I want to make sure that they are understanding it. And if they really are understanding it, then I expect that they're not gonna get very many wrong, because I just don't want them to continue on when everything is built upon whatever was taught prior. If they're like just getting it. Teaching textbooks was a success for us this year, and he will continue on with that next year. We move on to typing, which I have all my kids do. Previous to this year, he was doing typing.com, which I've talked about before. It's a free online site that all my kids have used and it's great. He's actually already gone through it twice. Like, he's done the entire thing twice, and I guess I could have just stopped there, but I knew that the Good and the Beautiful had a typing course as well. And as opposed to like, so typing.com, you're literally on the site doing everything through the site, which I love. The Good and the Beautiful, it is a physical book that you get. I think it goes up to typing 4 if I'm not mistaken. So I got him typing 2. I didn't really have rhyme or reason, to be honest with you. I just picked typing 2. The lessons are really short. Here's an example of a lesson right here, lesson 50, and it just says type the following sentences. So it takes all of like, what, not even 5 minutes for them to do. And I just open up like a blank document on my laptop and he will type that out. It was all right. I think after doing the online typing program, I was a little bit meh about this one, to be honest with you, because I feel like the online program, typing.com, it's a little more intensive, and I think it packs a lot more into each lesson. The kids spend a lot more time on the lessons, and I think therefore they retain a lot more. So I don't think I'm gonna have him continue through next year on this. I may actually, which might seem redundant, I may just actually have him, now that he's kind of skipped a year doing it online, I may just have him go through it one more time as another refresher, because obviously as he gets older, he's going to be doing a little bit more on the computer, typing and that kind of stuff. I think you can't really get too much practice doing that right now. He's still writing more than he's typing. So considering he's going into grade 8, I'll probably have him switch back over again. I think if maybe you were just starting, maybe this is a good introduction, and I don't know, I just was a little underwhelmed, to be honest with you. There you go. And then we have everything else is kind of, I guess, language arts related. I have spelling workout. This is level F, and this is the spelling program that we use and love. Basically all my kids are using it now, yes, aside from the littlest one. It's just a basic spelling program that gives you list words and then little things to fill in every day. It's about a week's worth per words. I usually have them have a separate notebook where I have them write out their words. For the older kids, I usually have them write it out like twice, like 2 lists of the words. They do the activities in here, and it's all kinds of things. And then for him and for my other daughter, who's also doing the same program, we do end of the week quizzes. Actually, I usually do the quiz the Monday following, so they have a little time to study. So I usually do it the Monday morning following, before they start their new set of words for the week. And it's not so much testing where it's not very, like, it's not intense. I don't really do a lot of testing in our homeschool, because for the most part, like, I'm there and I'm checking all their work. But I've talked about how with spelling, because they're filling in the activities and the words are there, I feel like it's kind of nice to be able to just have an actual idea if they learned how to spell the words without seeing the words. So I do get the quiz sheets, and we do that. So we'll probably do this next year as well. And then we move on to Wordly Wise, which is another favorite of ours here. All my kids have done it. And this is basically a curriculum that helps the child expand their vocabulary. It helps them to know the meanings of words, especially if there's multiple meanings, how the word is used in a sentence. And it just, you know, it's like it helps with writing, it helps with answering questions in written form. I think it even helps with speaking, honestly, to be a little bit more articulate in how you speak, because this really does expose them to words that they may not be hearing on a regular basis. It's kind of the same thing, like I find reading good books, reading books that are slightly ahead of their level. They maybe have to figure out what a word means, or maybe they're being exposed to words that they don't know, or like I said, don't hear often, and they have to kind of figure out what it means, but you can also get that from the context of the story. I just find that all of that really does enhance a person's speaking abilities and writing abilities. I've said to the kids in the past, when you're reading a book, do you want them to constantly say, she was happy, she was really happy, you know, and then that happened and she was happy? No, if you pay attention, a good book is going to use different verbs, different adjectives, different nouns. It's going to use a variety of words so that it's not repetitive and it's not boring. So that is why I love this program. And I, you know, having older kids that have used it, my oldest son who's 19, and then my daughter just now, she's going into grade 12. They were actually a level ahead and they completed the entire thing. They both do very well in all of their written assignments. So I do really believe that this this definitely played a part in that. This is one of the other programs that I do weekly quizzes with them. It's the spelling and the wordly wise that they get quizzed on. Again, because even though they may be getting the work correctly, they can always refer back to the example pages and stuff. And I like to actually see that they are grasping and retaining the information they've learned. So he did book 7. Next year, I plan on getting him book 8. And then we have Fix-It Grammar, and this is actually my son's first time doing Fix-It Grammar. So he started at level 1, and the story is the nose tree. Each level is based off of a story, and you're basically editing the story as it goes. It's based on a 4-day schedule. So they'll give a little lesson at the beginning, kind of talking about what they're going to be focusing on that week. So it might be homophones or quotation marks or end marks. You get a sentence to edit that's part of the story. So basically at the end, you've done the entire story, and they will actually tell you what you need to look for. So in here, he needs to find 2 articles, 3 nouns, a prepositional phrase, a subject verb pair, a capital and end mark, and a homophone. And he has to mark all of those with, they show them how to actually edit properly and mark up the sentence. And then when he's done, I take this up with him, do any corrections, and then he rewrites the sentence in the proper way. They've actually revised this. Before this year, you actually had to write out all your sentences in a different notebook, but now they've integrated it into the book itself, which I think is great. The other thing too is there's always a bolded word. Sometimes there's 2 bolded words, and they are words that they are supposed to go and find the definition for. So we still do that in a separate notebook. He's got all his definitions and his words there, and he'll just look it up in the dictionary and tell it to me. So again, this is just a great add-on to language arts. Just being able to not only write well, but to be able to pick out mistakes is great for when they are editing back their own work, their own written responses, whatever, you know, whatever it is that they're writing. This kind of gets them in the mindset of looking for those missing pieces. So love this program, continuing this with him for sure next year. Then we have Becca, and this is the Grammar and Composition Work Text 1. And this covers everything from vocabulary, spelling, poetry. There is some literature in here as well. The sections are pretty short. This is a pretty chunky curriculum, and you could definitely you could definitely use this, I think, as a core curriculum, in my opinion, because it does cover so much. I didn't use this though as a core curriculum. We have actually used Abeka in the past, like with some of my other kids, we have used it as their core language arts. But I haven't been doing that for the last couple of years with my younger kids. We've just kind of changed things up a bit. I do still love Abeka. It is, if you've ever used Abeka in general, I would say that they are, compared to some curriculums, they are more on the advanced side. So because though this wasn't his main language arts curriculum, I didn't have him doing like big chunks of it every single day. In fact, I only had him doing it 3 times a week. We would do it Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I would have him do 2 sections. They're kind of broken up in a really random way, and he got a little bit more than halfway through, again, because he wasn't doing it every single day. I haven't decided if I'm going to have him finish the second half of it or move on to the next one or scrap it all together. I'm not 100% sure. We've gone back and forth and used so many English language arts curriculums over the years that I just haven't really made up my mind yet. We've used this before. I know the layout. I kind of know what it's all about. And again, it is more on the advanced side. It's jam-packed with information. They are learning a whole lot in here. It's just a matter of whether you want to use it alongside something else or on its own. You definitely could use this as a core curriculum though. For his core curriculum, we went with the Good and the Beautiful language arts, which is what we've been doing, like I said, with my 4 youngest kids. When my 2 oldest were kind of the age, it wasn't really around yet, so we chose other things. This is level 6, and this was his grade 7 year, but I mentioned how the Good and the Beautiful's grade 8 language arts is only a book study. It's not a full curriculum. So I always have my kids just do 1 level behind, which is more than adequate. And also considering everything else that I'm adding on to supplement, I am not worried about them lacking in anything. This is just the course book, but the set comes with all kinds of things. There's like readers and stuff as well. And if you've never used the Good and the Beautiful language arts, it's got so much in it in terms of not just language arts, but there's also an art component and a geography component as well. There's spelling words even through here, independent reading with readers that they supply. But on top of that, he also has like independent reading of just his own as well that I assign for the year. So that's like not part of it, but sort of an extension, I guess you can say. Yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about the Good and the Beautiful. And every time they revise it, which I think they just revised it again, I'm not sure, I haven't looked yet, but every time they revise it, they make it that much better. I've always been super happy with what it has, what it's teaching, how it's teaching it. My plan is to move them on to level 7 next year and then deciding what I'm going to add in with that. But you don't have to, so I don't want to, like, you might think, well, why are you adding things on? But it's just my own, I like to reinforce a lot of language arts concepts with my kids just because I feel like it shows up in everything you do, like essentially in your whole life. That's kind of why I do it. You definitely don't have to add on all these extra things that I do. It's just what I find works. Okay, and then the last thing that he did, also from Abeka, their science book. And this is the Science, Order, and Design. As you can see, well, I don't know if you can, this is a well-worn, well-loved book because we've had this for a while and I've just been passing it down. All my kids have used this for science. So he is the 4th kid to be using this specific book. This is what he does independently. We also use the Good and the Beautiful science units that we do as a group. We do that, but this he can do on his own independently. This just goes over, it's kind of a general science, I guess you could say. It goes over so many things. So there is plants, the body, creation, mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, insects, invertebrate. It talks about microscope stuff. It talks about forestry and trees and all that kind of stuff. And if you didn't already guess, it is a biblical based curriculum. But it is definitely like there is a whole lot of science in here. So I don't like to pick curriculums just for the fact that they are biblically based. I also want them to be full of the information that we are coming to it for, but I do appreciate that as well. He only got through about half of this book. Again, this is not something that he was doing every single day. I only had him doing this twice a week, and that was interspersed with whatever science we were doing together. But it is chunky, it is detailed, and then pretty much every section has like a chunk of questions that he answers in a notebook, in a science notebook. They are pretty intensive questions, a lot of definitions and things like that. So it would take him quite a while. Like it would take him a good probably 30 minutes to do whatever he was on that day. But we love Abeka science as well. I mean, again, it's one of those things where we've done a lot of different science programs, but we do keep coming back. Obviously, I said this has gone in four kids' hands. I have the next level, and I'm gonna look through it because like after a while, everything honestly just starts to look the same because I've looked at everything so many times. So even though he only got through half of it, I'll decide if I want him to finish it off or start on the next book, because I don't quite remember where the other book starts at. A lot of where he's at right now is the animal kind of section, and I feel like we have covered a lot of that in our other science units, and also I do a lot of that with them as well during morning time stuff, because my kids in general just love learning about animals. We also watch a lot of animal like documentaries and things, so I'll see if that looks like that's pretty much what the rest of the book is, then I may just go ahead and start him on the next book for next year. But the intention is to have him continue on that next year on top of what we continue to do for science as a group. That is everything for my 7th graders homeschool year. He had a good year. You know, my son he loves learning, like he loves learning about the things he loves learning about. Do you know what I'm talking about? Honestly, he would much rather be outside playing basketball than sitting at his desk doing any of this. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I think, you know, you try your best to instill a love of learning in your kids, but you have to also come to terms with the fact that they're not gonna love everything. You know, do you love learning about everything? No, we all have certain things that we are interested in and that, you know, we want to know more about, and so you don't mind spending that time. And then sometimes we have things that we're just like, we could care less about. And so I feel like you have to sort of understand that it's going to be the same for your kids. And I'm just saying all that to say, like, he had a good year, and I would say there's definitely things that he enjoys doing. He gets a lot of breaks to go outside when the weather is good and play basketball and stuff. He actually does like to read quite a bit in his spare time, so he does a lot of that throughout the day as well. And I just try to, you know, when you have a kid that is not so much for the sitting, doing the workbooks and stuff like that, you kind of have to be creative, because, you know, he does have quite a bit here to do, and he does it, but it's just all about how you pace it out, making sure that there's a lot of breaks and things in between, using different media and different forms of learning too, to try to get creative with some of this stuff. But he's a very smart kid when he applies himself. He's gonna do great next year, grade 8. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video and that you got some useful information. Let me know if you have any favorites of this past year in your homeschool. I would love to know. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you're new, and you guys can follow me over on Instagram if you kind of want to know what we're up to this summer. It's just Modern Mom for Life there, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.